Down in the roastery here with Daniel Shadbolt, who competed in this year's Australian Roasting Championships, and if you don't mind me saying, has won the Australian Roasting Championships in 2022.
2022.
Yep. And also went to the world stage as well.
Yeah, so Worlds were hosted in Milan in 2022, so
yep.
lucky enough to compete amongst the best of the world, and yeah, really cutthroat competition, but enjoyable process nonetheless.
Awesome. So I think people have asked me, because I've mentioned what's going on, people have said, what does that actually entail? We can go as nerdy and geeky as you like, but yeah, you tell me, so what's the actual process of getting into the competition? How tough is it? What's the timeline? That sort of stuff.
Yeah, so initially the preliminary round, or the regional round as you'll call it in competition in Australia, is a sign up and get sent coffee. You know nothing about the coffee, it comes in a plain black bag, and it's up to you to produce something that ideally tastes good, but also matches a plan that you submit with the coffee.
So when you say they send you coffee, is that literally it's been imported from wherever the origin is and it's green beans in a plain bag, and that's it?
So 3 kilos of green beans in a plain black bag, you know absolutely nothing about it, and you only get 3 kilos, full stop.
Right, so that includes figuring out what it is.
Yep.
I mean, you feel free to tell me, doing a test roast to see what it should taste like.
Yeah.
And then sending out the finished product in a separate roast? How many roasts do you get out of 3 kilos?
It depends on the roaster you've got. So in my scenario, we're working off a 5 kilo roaster, so it's 1 of 1. You get 1 shot to do it, 1 chance to get it right, and 1 chance to execute it.
How do you get a bunch of green beans and go, I think I know what this is, and therefore it should be roasted this kind of way, based on my knowledge, kind of thing?
Yeah, so knowledge of green sourcing, procurement, processing, all kind of plays into it, but also being able to green the coffee as well to start off with. So you want to remove any defects that might be in there. Generally speaking, they will give you something that's not quite so easy. So it will have defects like insect damage or broken beans or some sort of anomalies in there that won't taste so good in the final cup.
And they judge you based on how many of those defective or defected beans come back to them?
Not really. So you don't send any defects back. You will take the coffee that's left over after you've sorted through it, and that is what you roast. So you set a plan as far as what you hope to achieve from the roast that you're doing, as far as flavor notes, profiles, and cup quality. And then you send that plan back with a roasted sample of a minimum of 500 grams, and then they judge that according to your plan and gives you an overall score.
Right, okay. So people who are entering this contest, they'll all be of a certain level where no defects will be in that roasted bag because everyone knows how to check for them.
Ideally. So it pays to be pedantic in this scenario. If you've got things like Quakers in the bag, which are the really light coloured beans, they do taste like popcorn, not a good trait in coffee. But if you don't sort through that and take all the not so good stuff out, then yeah, generally you will get not as a good result in the cup.
Yeah, okay. So you send in your 500 grams.
Yep. People
on a panel or a board each give their own scores? Or?
Yeah, so a minimum of 3 judges will be involved in the assessment of the coffee. And then realistically, well, not realistically, factually, the top 10 of all submissions will get judged and scored and then released. But they score all of the coffees blindly, so they don't know whose coffee is whose. You need to send it in with a code, not your name on it, so that there's no sort of preferential treatment, and it is completely judged blindly. So then top 10 out of however many people enter go through to the finals.
Do you have an idea of roughly how many people enter every year?
It kind of goes up and down. I think the past recent years have been around about 60 to 70 contestants going into it. So, and that is a nationally open competition.
So people from Sydney, Perth, Brisbane would have to fly in for the top 10
Yes,
contest.
so if you make it through the top 10, historically it has been held in Melbourne every single year. And if you are from a different state, then you have to find your way here to compete for 2 days worth of pretty grueling roasting competition.
Right, okay. So how's that? Is the second phase very similar? You get the same 3 kilos again and off you go?
So second phase is in line with the World Roasting Competition rules and regulations. So again, you kind of walk in with yourself and a notepad and that's it. You know nothing about the coffees that you're going to get given. And then you get presented, after the induction and all that sort of stuff, you get presented with 4 coffees. You have one which is your single origin that you have to use as your single origin. You then get 3 blend components that you must use at least 10% of each one in a blend. That's basically all the information you're given straight off the bat. So you'll get a mixture of different processing methods, you'll get a different mixture of quality levels of coffee to really sort of challenge us as roasters to use our techniques to try and maximize what we can.
So when you say blend components versus a single origin, does that mean they've given you the information on what those blend components are, but the single origin's a mystery, or?
They'll generally give you origin and processing. So they might come up and say, I've got a natural, I don't know, Ethiopian or a washed Kenyan or similar to that sort of scenario.
Yeah.
And they will generally that's only the information you'll get.
And then the single origin is a total mystery.
So no, the single origin, you still get the details. So for instance, this year we walked in and I believe it was a washed Peruvian coffee.
You think, because you don't know?
No, because it was a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
No. So yeah, you'll walk in and they'll say your single origin is a washed Peru, and you need to use that washed Peru at 100% ratio because you only get one ingredient.
It's 2 separate.
Yeah.
Oh, you do a single origin and you do a blend.
A single origin,
right,
and a blend.
Right.
And then the 3 components of the blend. Off the top of my head, it was a natural Kenyan this year, which I've never roasted a natural Kenyan. Roasted plenty of washed Kenyans, but never a natural. They also had a Mexican and also, I can't remember, so you can edit that out.
I'm not going to edit any of this.
Cool. Yeah, so 3 different ones, different processing methods, really tricky coffees to roast this year as well. Really, really challenging as far as what we do in our craft to actually sort of enhance but not sort of overdo each quality in those coffees.
What did being natural processed do to the Kenyan?
A natural processed Kenyan was really challenging, just the way it reacted in the drum. So when we're roasting it, it was quite unpredictable as far as Kenyan will usually dip down after first crack and then kind of kick back up, whereas this one was a little bit more held onto more heat and hung in there a bit longer, so it did go a bit darker and a bit hotter.
So does that mean you need to cut it earlier?
Yeah, it's more control towards the middle part of the roast and sort of bringing that temperature down and having more control towards the back end of the roast and really sort of developing the flavours without going too dark.
What did your blend end tasting like? What were your notes that you handed in with it?
Look, there was some really good stuff. Having 2 natural coffees on the table, there was a lot of fruit-forward flavours like strawberry. There's some nice sort of butterscotch notes in there as well. So really nice floral honey as well. So they were very tasty coffees, as challenging as they were. So yeah.
Awesome. Are you looking forward to next year's?
Absolutely, can't wait. Do it all again.
Awesome, thank you.